Hey guys, currently not feeling 100%. That's why I didn't stream it all this week, and especially not all this morning. So, um, just letting you guys know. So, um, now you guys know. Just so I'm gonna go ahead and mute my stream, at least for me, so that I don't hear it in the background. Ay, ay, ay. Um, okay, I cannot handle the villager noises right now. Yeah, so I am currently sick. I have the worst cold I've ever had in my life. So, um, today we are doing what we can to uh, finish. Oh, we're doing our best to go ahead and finish this trading hall. So, we have. hmm. I think I want deep slate as the trim, so let's go this way. Just abolish deep slate. Some blackstone. Oh, there's a lot of blackstone. Okay. some spruce logs. Hmm. Just realized something. Ay, ay, ay. Hmm. I need string. Can I turn coal into black dye? I can't do that, right? No. Mm, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted looting. It's 32. Well, it's a good thing I brought these books. I should probably bring the Goodbye, 69. What should we name this sword? Flamon. There we go. I like that. Alright, well, now we need to get some fireworks because we're about to run out. And then we come on. Yep, it's probably good for now. I'm gonna grab these squids right here first. Bro, that one went so far. Oh my gosh. Nice. Black dye. Candles. Alright, that's good for now. There we go. Oh, I need flint and steel. Ooh, potatoes. Oh, there's more potatoes. What other goodies are in here? I don't think there's much of anything. Is there anything in the floor? Nope, nothing. That's okay. Ow, my leg. Ouch. Alright, guys, I'm actually going to do something that I thought I would never do. And that is we are going to change something about the stream. I'm having a hard time thinking. I'm having a hard time just staying focused. So, what we're going to do, and on top of that, just engaging wise, it's hard for me to do much more than just like talk. So, uh, instead, what I'm gonna do is I have the Pokemon North American International Championships, video game championships, up currently in the background. So I'm actually gonna switch over to that stream, and we're gonna watch that. They just started. Which round is it? I'm not sure what round. I think it's. Oh, it's round 6. There it is. It's round 6, and it's currently going in between Luca Carabelli and Marco Silva, two of the most powerful, most powerful players currently. So we are gonna do this. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna close the. We're gonna close this. We're gonna do. Okay, so what I'm gonna do actually instead is I'm just gonna add something to here for now. No, I don't want that. Copy. Let's go here. Oh boy, why is it? Can you guys hear it? No, you cannot. Okay, how come I can't add... Why can't I add a new one? Wait, what? How delayed is this stream? How is it still... Oh. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Remove. Yes. Okay. That wasn't what I wanted. So what we're going to do... That's not what I wanted. Cancel. Remove. Yes. Display capture. That's also not what I wanted. Come on, man. Huh. Bro, come on. Bro. Alright, there we go. Okay, we're gonna do... Cancel... Hello? Yeah, okay, so we have this. I'm trying to switch it over. This was something I was not anticipating, so... Window capture, there we go. There we go. Audio output? Add existing? No. Trying to get the sound from the stream. Hold on. Nope, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Oh. No, I removed it from here. Cool. Windows capture audio. Application audio capture? Ooh, does this work?
Really made the difference there, just being able to continue to hang on for one extra turn, get one extra volt switch off, get one extra moon guide speed off, especially there.
Nice, that does work. Okay, cool.
So aggressive with that
okay, cool. So what we are gonna do,
leaving it very vulnerable, and at one point Luca just had to say, okay, if you're going to give me the Calyrex, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of like the reads on Marco's side, even though they didn't work. It seemed like he largely got Luka to make the plays he wanted to make. It turned out the math didn't actually work for Marco's plays because he wasn't able to pick up the knockouts. I think that's kind of interesting how this sets up the second game, right? Where Luka maybe doesn't need to adjust so much from that end, where like the path that they took led to him winning. But I don't know if he's going through the game feeling like he necessarily like won the reads, where either it's like the Pokemon really were trained in a way where you always survive those, and like it's kind of a team diff. Or B, you gotta be a little careful. Like, okay, well, like, he was a little bit in my head maybe, or if it wasn't
Okay,
and
so
you get away with it. So, like, do you play a little more close this game, kind of assuming that you get the same pace for Marco? Does Marco try to slow it down a little bit, maybe try to get some chips so he actually picks those knockups out? But we see a very similar start to the game on one side of the field. Well, it's the winning player who does make the adjustment.
Yeah, that's going to be the Choice Band Urshifu and the Whimsicott for Luka going up against that Zamazenta and Rillaboom from Game 1 from Marco. So opting to have, or at least threaten a Tailwind mode here from the Whimsicott and making big adjustments to the Pokemon that
we're
were
gonna
brought.
do
That
is
means
we're just
most
gonna
likely no Ursaluna, and also no Incineroar in the back, or leaving one of the two
what
restricted
is
at home.
happening?
Yeah, I'm really interested because Incineroar was such a great
seems so
tool for
important.
closing the game last time. But I think maybe
Where did my
that does
mouse go? That's weird. No!
quite the way Luka was hoping it did in the first game, making a larger adjustment
Alright,
here.
there we go.
Unlike Marco, we're getting to see the
Let's
audience here
increase
that it is
the-
Incineroar that was left at home. So see the audience here that it is Incineroar that was left at home. So, hey, these two physical Pokemon would not have liked to see Incineroar come in. We'll have to see if Miraidon can make the same difference. This time switching in after the Rillaboom and getting control of the terrain to start out the match.
Yeah, gaining control of the terrain so important for this Miraidon, and also important for Marco.
It's really cool to
and
see
the
Luka
Rillaboom.
playing
Rillaboom
something that
switches
he's
out
very,
for
very comfortable with
Incineroar.
it, which is
Marco
the
says,
Miraidon.
Hey, I'm not going to leave the best Pokemon in the meta at home. I'm bringing Incineroar every time. And
Miraidon
he's continuing
is,
to hang on to that
for those
Choice
of you
Band
who
Urshifu.
either
And
don't watch regularly
forces the
or are
terrestrialization
unfamiliar with
out of
it,
that Pokemon with the
Luka is
knockout
the one who
pressure
won the
from
World
that,
Championship
from
last
that
year,
Rillaboom.
so-
So here, Luka has the
Oh,
ability
interesting,
to
going
force
with the-
Terra on the Urshifu, and will take a heavy slam to the Miraidon on the
probably
switch-in.
anticipating the
Mewtwo,
fairy
though, means
type.
that it will just be able to bounce back, take a little bit of Rocky Helmet, chip damage, and then we'll see what Luka
Or the-
wants to
no,
bring
no,
in
he was
next.
probably
Could
anticipating
bring
the
in
switch.
could
That's
bring in
interesting.
The Whimsicott for Encore Pressure or Tailwind, or could bring in the Lunala and potentially get that Electric Seed activation off.
Whimsicott is the one coming in, so maybe trying to deter a potential fake out here. Otherwise very fast choice specs Miraidon, although we saw, Zamazenta could do some significant damage with the body press, but probably not threatening a knockout yet. And we also saw, you kind of mentioned the terastallization being forced on Luka's side of the field, but also there was the switch forced on Marco's side of the field, kind of paying the tax of having won the turn one terrain battle, knowing that Miraidon likely coming in, so then Rillaboom has to go right back out in order to be threatening that switch in again. Doesn't necessarily have to do it right here, since the Miraidon's in trouble and we see the fake out.
That's good
instead.
fake out.
Ooh,
Nice critical
fake out
hit.
into the Miraidon as Whimsicott
Oh,
unlocks
encore.
Zamazenta into Heavy Slam.
Into the heavy
Will
slam, probably
prevent
going to the
it from dealing
Whimsicott.
good damage to the Miraidon, but does still threaten
Yep.
the Whimsicott, which takes
Probably
this Heavy
knew
Slam
that
for a
the encore was
one-hit
coming, so went into
KO.
the Whimsicott
The benefit
anyways.
here is that it will
Yep.
likely force that Zamazenta out after this turn, because it just can't do anything to this Miraidon if it's locked into Heavy Slam.
Yeah, maybe not the worst thing in the world. I mean, actually,
Ooh,
we'd love to get the
Lunala
Tailwind up before you
and
get knocked down,
Miraidon.
but,
That's a
Whimsicott,
nasty
not
combo.
taking exerting a whole lot of offensive pressure, and now that this Zamazenta has kind of been weakened by being forced into this non-optimal move, you got to do something with the switch, right? Just having to switch yourself isn't a great way to cash in on that. So now the Miraidon with the correct terrain, at least for now, although the odds of a Rillaboom coming in fairly high when you're forced into switching anyway. And Lunala also in a position where it gets an attack off here, but facing down Incineroar, no longer being threatened by an Encore, although I guess it wouldn't have been anyway as a Dark-type Pokemon, in a tricky but advantageous spot.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because, it feels like Luka has put himself into the speed sandwich. If we consider that it could be a Calyrex in the back for Marco, there will just be the switch in for the Incineroar. Rillaboom comes in to set up the grassy terrain, leaving the Zamazenta on the field. Happy to start continuing to hit those heavy slams,
Oof,
potentially into that Lunala, at least break the Shadow Shield there as
Heavy.
Rillaboom comes in.
Yeah,
Little
that
bit of
did
chip
nothing.
damage onto Lunala as Trick
Ooh,
Room
the
will
Trick
be set up. And now
Room.
we're in a kind of an awkward position here for Luka.
Yeah, this is not like the most ideal of trick rooms where Miraidon such a speedy Pokemon.
Yeah, this
like
is an
to
interesting
move in
trick room
west
for
now,
sure.
and
I don't
with
know
only,
if I agree with it.
Urshifu left in the back, that's a pretty dangerous switch as well. You really don't want to let either of those Pokemon get a hold of it. Zamazenta, I guess, not going to do like huge damage, but even without the type advantage, a Woodhammer would really hurt here. No way to get the train back for
So
this turn.
Luca
Yeah,
one.
there is the big Woodhammer
Ooh.
coming in from the Rillaboom. The Electric Seed doing a lot of work to protect Lunala from that
Moongeist
damage, as it will
Beam.
fire back a Moongeist Beam right into that Rillaboom. Good
Not
damage
quite
onto that
enough.
as well, as Heavy Slam continues to
Slam.
chip
Oh!
away. And
The critical hit!
The Electric Seed defense boost will knock that Pokemon
Oh
out.
my
Essentially a
gosh.
turn before
Electro
Luca
Drift
really would've wanted that to
into the
happen, as
Zamazenta,
the
yeah.
Electro Drift will connect
Ooh.
onto Zamazenta for a little bit over 50%
Oh, that did so
damage there,
much.
but now, because of that critical hit, Urshifu is forced into the game.
Yeah, and critically, the Miraidon is forced to stay in as well. Not going to be able to try to get an electric trade back. Might have been a little challenging in this situation.
They pointed
anyway,
out the
but,
electric terrain, but
Rillaboom
something
going to
else
win
that
the
they
train
pointed
war this
that they didn't
time,
point
and,
out is that the
again,
Urshifu, at least
high potential. It's
I
still,
think,
slower
is
slash
most likely
faster
faster than
the
both
Pokemon
of
on the
these.
other side of the
So,
field, able to threaten one more big Woodhammer, and,
oh
might
man,
even
I don't know
survive
if
the recall
Luca,
of
how
doing
Luca
so
gets
and
out of this.
critically force one more attack to go into its slot.
Yeah, I think it would still have enough health to survive the recoil damage from Woodhammer. And we've already seen that the Rillaboom was slower than Lunala, so most likely, like you mentioned, still the slowest thing on the field. So going first here in Trick
Dazzling
Room.
Gleam?
And that's going to be
Rillaboom
really
has the
difficult for
AV, it
Luca.
would survive
Did
the
not get a
Dazzling
whole
Gleam.
lot of value out of that Whimsicott at all, and instead is just kind of on the back foot. Maybe if that critical hit hadn't come through, the
Zamazenta,
timing would have
yeah.
been a little bit better, but
Fire,
without it, the timing
water.
is just a
I missed
little
the team
bit
sheet in
off
the
for
beginning,
Luca here,
so-
as Marco goes for the Terrestrialization water type.
Yeah, always a little cheeky when you're going for the water terrestrialization in front of a Miraidon, but maybe going to be enough here.
Oh,
to
Surging
survive
Strikes.
this
Oh,
get one more
man.
attack off, and that could be enough for Marco to be in a position where the game is relatively closed.
Yeah,
That was
these
a good
Surging
call.
Strikes are not enough to break through the now water type Zamazenta as it shrugs off that damage from the choice band Urshifu. Body press into Miraidon will
Ooh.
not pick up the KO, but it will also still survive this turn as Miraidon will just follow up with a Electro Drift
No.
into Rillaboom, but not enough damage once again. Every little piece of hit points counts for these games.
It seems like some very defensively trained here Pokemon here, and yeah, that's the deal, right? Where even though there would normally sort of be the threat
Yeah.
of, I guess you can't
Jeez,
back choice,
a
so
4-0
yeah,
game
that's,
from Marco
that's tough.
Silva.
We'll see
That is
if we get locked in
amazing.
here, and,
Very, very
that
well
was a
done
bit of a
executed.
disastrous game too for our defending world champion. We see him switch up his strategy from that first game that he had won because things were a little bit shaky, but I didn't really see what he was going for there. Right? He had both of his speed control options. Wasn't able to use one. The other one actively worked against him, and we kind of see the weakness of these mixed speed control teams. It's great if everything lines up the way that you want it to, but your Trick Rooming without the Ursaluna even selected that time did not look so good.
Absolutely, and the Whimsicott, like you mentioned, I'm not sure what Luca was going for there, because all of Luca's Pokemon are outspeeding the important Pokemon on Marco's side without Tailwind. So you're really looking at getting, Moonblast pressure and Encore especially, which is really powerful when you have a bunch of fake out users like Rillaboom coming in.
Yeah,
Of
he
course,
was
like
probably
you mentioned,
hoping
and
for a
Seaver
high
could be
roll.
Encored.
Actually, I don't even know if that was
Clearly Luca had a plan
if
there
a
with
high
the
roll. That might have been a high roll. He probably was
Yeah,
just
the
hoping for a
critical hit
crit.
mattered there, right? Where, I guess
And
everything
even
was
then, I don't know
I
if that
think the
would have
assumption is that the
gotten
final
him out.
Pokemon is a Calyrex, if you can very easily double tap that under Trick Room, kind of just eliminate it. So the game probably much closer than it looks there, where if it gets on the field, probably doesn't make a difference. However, there is still 2 Pokemon remaining on Marco's side, and even though the Calyrex would have been relatively easy to deal with, that does still potentially require 2 targets. Only one if it's in Urshifu in an optimal situation, maybe. And yeah, that was a lot of actions that Luca just didn't have
Yeah,
remaining
Marco's
there.
team, like Luca's team, I've
flip
seen
side, like,
before.
at
I've seen
least
multiple
briefly, the
variations.
Whimsicott
It's a
sort
very
of got him
interesting,
into a
very
better position.
bulky but
Yeah,
speedy
I
team,
wonder if, like, maybe there
but
was
also
a,
can
one
run
Pokemon
under Trick
selection
Room, which
difference
is very
would have
cool.
made,
But Marco's
that
team
a
is
little more advantageous,
very,
or just trying to
very
play the-
unique.
a slower slugged out game,
It's
because
been a while
the
since
first
I've
game, I
seen
think
a
it's already
Raging
such a good
Bolt
job of,
and
showing
a
the Rillaboom,
Rillaboom
I think is a really critical focus matchup.
and a
And, yeah, I think
whatever
you
that's
either
called.
Probably either need the Intimidate or to be a little bit more militant about making sure you win the terrain battle.
Luca has opted not to win the terrain battle here in game 3, going back to game 1 leads with the Miraidon and Lunala. The electric terrain will be set. Activate Lunala's electric seed to boost its defense, which has been
Interesting.
really
What's the
critical
synergy between
for Luca's team. That
Miraidon
Lunala is
and
taking so many
Lunala?
physical attacks thanks to that
Like, I
electric
genuinely
seed,
don't
but
know
will lose
what
the terrain immediately as Rillaboom
Dauntless
will set the
Shield
grassy
is going
terrain
to be
with its
rough,
grassy
but it makes
surge.
sense having.
So,
Well, I mean,
it's interesting.
she's having
Even
two.
though the train battle went to Marco, we kind of seen this is the formation that worked for Luca the first time. We've seen there's a little adjustment from the game one plan, where somewhere between game 1 and game 2 on Luca's side of the field, where on Marco's, I guess we don't even know exactly what his plan was. It's possible Calyrex did even come last game, although I would assume it's fairly unlikely.
Yeah, absolutely. Would be a very big. Would have been a big play to leave Calyrex at home in game 2, but we are going to see Whimsicott coming back in here. That's going to take
That did a
fake out
lot of
and take
damage.
a body
Moongeist
press
Beam.
from
Is that
the
going
Zamazenta.
into the
And, oh boy, Luca
Zamazenta?
got what he wanted.
It
Those are
is
two juicy encore
enough.
targets right now as Zamazenta takes that Moongeist Beam.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
like this a lot more. It's a very awkward position now for Marco to play out. We have to be concerned
Yeah,
about either side
encore
potentially getting encored.
into
The
either of
Moongeist
these
Beam can do a
sounds
bunch of damage on
really,
these
really
Pokemon.
beautiful. What if they,
Luca also
ooh,
has the
double
option
switch could
instead
be
of bringing
nuts.
that Miraidon back in, kind of knowing these pressure these Pokemon is likely to see some switches, could at least temporarily get the terrain back and maybe prevent any cheeky grassy glide trying to sneak in there. But yeah, once again, neither side really has a major advantage here. Rillaboom
there's
is going
switch
to exit
one.
the field, and we'll have to see what comes in.
Well, we are
Is that
going
gonna
to
be
have
the
Incineroar
Team
coming
Incineroar?
back out on
Okay.
the field. Happily tanks and most of the attacks coming out from Lunala. Of course, though Marco
There's
is
nothing.
not running
Is he gonna?
the
Oh,
Assault
he
variant,
doesn't
will be
double
instead
switch.
the Rocky Helmet as Encore
Oh.
connects onto the Zamazenta, blocking it into body press. Still deals good
Really?
damage to Whimsicott, but Whimsicott
I
is
don't know
able
if
to
I agree
hang
with that.
on. And critically, that means that Zamazenta can't do anything to this Lunala but take Moongeist beams to the face.
Yeah, I think that's a nice little play there. Zamazenta definitely in KO range of this Moongeist Beam, although close enough for a number of
Ooh,
switches.
Tailwind. A last second
Train,
Tailwind is
activations
nuts.
could allow it to get out of that range much later in the game. For now, though.
Wait,
probably
hold
going
on.
to need
What
to,
was the
activations could allow
Lunal's
it to get
moveset? Wide Guard, Moon Blast, Trick Room.
out of
Interesting.
that range much
Interesting.
later
Okay.
in the game. For now, though, probably going to need to switch out here. So, yeah, what can Luca do to take advantage of that? The Incineroar also looks a little bit awkward, where that Shadow Shield isn't broken, but you could also try to go for a knockout with Fake Out if it wanted to on the Whimsicott.
Yeah, the powerful fake outs into Whimsicott, but not going for it, will instead go for a bigger attack with the knockoff, as Moongeist Beam from Lunala will connect on to that Rillaboom on the switch and finally force the Zamazenta out now under Tailwind, and actually not going for an attack at
Ooh,
all. Instead,
parting
the
shot.
If Incineroar can't fake something out, it will just get out of the field, make way for one of the other Pokemon in the back.
Yeah, kind of a meaningful parting shot, too, there. That's probably already enough where if Marco wanted to bring Zamazenta back in, although it doesn't really make much sense here, would have the option of surviving a Moongeist
Yeah,
Beam
that
now.
Calyrex
So
is
it could be the
definitely gonna
Calyrex
win
who would
or
take
live
significantly
now.
more
They
from
have a
a
Moongeist
but
Beam.
also threatening a lot more damage and could try to pick up the knockout on that low HP Whimsicott.
Yeah, but now the Tailwind has been set up, so Luca has the speed advantage even against this Calyrex Shadow Rider on Marco's side. You can see this is a little bit of what Luca wanted in that game too, just couldn't quite position it.
I think on Marco said you kind of want to slow play this too, right? Where eventually you would like to take the knockout on that Whimsicott. I think taking it this turn is probably too soon, where I would give Luca a free switch where he could really try to take advantage of this, where I think probably more likely is he like protect him the Calyrex, try to cycle the other slot, maybe slow things down a little bit and try maybe the second to last turn of
Wait, is he
Trick Room or something
terrestrializing?
for a knockout.
Well, that's going to be
Yo.
protected by Switch, and the Incineroar makes an appearance once again. Critical Pokemon in Game 1 to control the damage
Ooh.
output of that Rillaboom, and even the Incineroar and Zamazenta on Marco's side, countered by an Incineroar
Ooh.
of Marco's own. So Rillaboom intimidated, Luca's Incineroar intimidated, and now this parting-shotted Lunala will be able to start going on the offensive. So as for the terrestrialization, that is the
That
very
Moonblast is a
Terra type
great
to
read
resist
for the
any
just in
Dark-type
case
attacks and boost the
for any
Moonblast.
switches.
Could deal good damage to that Incineroar even through the parting shot.
Very tight. Lunala is also
Targeting
good.
instead.
Like,
Oh,
it's
he's
very.
onto
Oh,
the
that is
Incineroar on the switches. Gets a
nothing.
little
That
bit
is
of decent
disgusting.
damage there as Rillaboom will bounce back once more.
That's also very little.
Revolving door style into Marco's hands. The choice of for Calyrex here to stall out these turns of Tailwind.
Yeah, one
Personally,
kind of
I
just
am
poke onto the
voting for
Incineroar.
Luca.
Kind of a great job by Calyrex there. Doesn't actually do anything, but its presence does kind of encourage that Lunala to change its typing there and get the terastallization out of the way. And I kind of feel like this is sort of what we've seen from these Tailwind Trick Room teams a little bit, where like you gotta get in the field, you get your speed control up, and then I'm fighting against Incineroar and Rillaboom, and nothing's really in any danger of being knocked out, so it doesn't matter who's going first.
Yeah, there's no danger of anything being knocked out, and I don't even know if I'm
These
going
are
to get
definitely
to
some
play
of
a
the games
turn.
that I really enjoy watching. The ones that take a little bit longer.
I think in general that's probably
Yeah,
true.
last
Marco's
year's
advantage
Worlds
only
was
helping stall
very
on this, Tailwind a little bit,
hard
but,
power,
the Grassy
like
Train
it
healing
was.
the Pokemon on
Oh,
Marco's side of the field.
jeez.
He's taken more damage, I think. Also, damage
It was
has
very
more important
intense.
Pokemon,
The amount
so,
of
the low HP Whimsicott probably not going to be able to take any
just
attacks the rest of this game, no matter what. Where the healing on Marco's Pokemon can
Incineroar and
really make a
Rillaboom
difference
are
as this game
great
continues on.
pairings.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if that,
But
that
Calyrex,
Zamazenta was
for
within
sure.
range of another Moongeist beam with the parting
The
shot
Zamazenta I'm
and
not
with
sure
grassy
about.
terrain healing, especially if Marco can reset the terrain after it expires after this turn. Pretty good odds there for Zamazenta to be able to get at least one, maybe two more attacks.
stream looks
off
really
unless
good.
Miraidon comes
That's
in,
for
and
sure.
That opens up the other offensive
They've
threat
definitely
on Luca's
upgraded
side to that chip damage and being
their,
whittled down by this
their
really
stream,
sturdy
which is
core
really,
on
really good.
Marco's team. Finally, though, the Calyrex Shadow Rider will terastallize into the dark typing. Marco will not be allowing any free Moongeist beams here, doubly so with the fake out. So Lunala will not be able to move. Calyrex gets
Oh,
an
boy.
Astral Barrage off onto both of these Pokemon. Lunala and Incineroar take it pretty well,
Ooh.
even with that critical hit on Incineroar. You can see all of the help that the Assault Vest is offering there, as Incineroar will retreat, and means that now Luca has an opportunity to either bring back in the Whimsicott and set Tailwind, or take control of the terrain once again.
Yeah, Miraidon potentially getting a pretty free shot here. Been a lot of cycling, but U-turning instead of going for perhaps a knockout there, knock off there, which maybe Marco was expecting, going to allow finally control of the terrain, at least for half of a turn here, although I think it's fairly likely we'll see the Rillaboom come back in. We are on the final turn of the Tailwind, so Lunala and Miraidon sort of threatening a big offense, but there's a caveat to both of them, right? The Lunala's taking that big shot, Miraidon has to play around the potential of a Rillaboom coming back in, and
Marco
Calyrex
Silva
still
is
seems to be
making
little cheeky,
making a lot of great
dodge and
reads
Moonblast
for
twice,
Luca.
once
Luca's
by
playing
switching
it
out,
very,
and one through the
very,
help
very,
of
very
his
safe.
partner faking it out, and Luca's going to have to get a couple reads right here to take advantage. For now, switching Lunala out and resetting that parting shot debuff.
Yeah, important for the Lunala to maintain its offensive options as it loses its.
Anyways, like I was
defense
saying,
from the
last year's
Electric Seed by
Worlds,
switching
for
out as
example, was in a
well.
very
Incineroar
aggressive
will
meta.
switch in. Marco's
There was
Calyrex will
not
switch
very many,
out,
or not
and
even
that means that
Worlds.
there is
We could go
Rillaboom
to
once more coming in. As soon
yeah,
as
that makes
Miraidon
sense.
joins the field, Rillaboom comes out to meet it.
That
Here
that was a
goes
pretty predictable
Luca.
safe play
Has
though.
the opportunity to go on the offensive now because Marco has gone for
I
a
probably
double
would have gone
switch.
Electro Drift
No
from the
damage
left-hand
coming
side.
out
Oh,
from
that could have been
Marco
great.
instead. Zamazenta coming out now, trying to sneak in some extra
Oh, Volt
healing,
Switch!
but
Woo!
Volt
Zamazenta, yes!
KO up.
And Luca
Zamazenta
pulls ahead.
finally goes down.
Marco made the wrong
Sort of an
read. I
interesting
wasn't paying
situation, though,
attention. I
where,
was
as much
thinking,
as it might have
so.
been nice to try to get the Zamazenta healthy enough to do something again. This is a pretty critical free switch. Whimsicott almost
Yeah,
certainly
no,
going to go
absolutely.
immediately for a tailwind here,
It's a
which
great
you could
switch.
try to stop, but also a free switch for Marco's side of the field, right? Where you just go for something like bringing Calyrex in here and maybe just like double attacking and seeing if you can move your way out from there. Maybe picking up a couple of
Incineroar's
knockouts.
fake out though.
Potentially, but critically, by switching the Lunala out to both reset its offense.
I think
and
Luca has this
defense,
game.
Incineroar got to come in. So
I
there
don't
is
think
also
that
fake out pressure
the
on
Calyrex can
Incineroar's
output
side.
enough
There is
damage
nothing safe here. You know,
between the
now that
Calyrex
has
and
Terrasilize into the
Incineroar
dark
and
typing,
Rillaboom. I
you
don't
can
think
see
they can
Marco is
output enough
having to make
damage.
some really difficult decisions because this positioning is
Like the
what's going to matter
Zamazenta
most.
just
And, you know, I
wasn't
said
doing enough.
earlier,
That
it's
second
unlikely,
game,
but
I
the
think
healing on the
Luca
Whimsicott
probably
really making a
anticipated
difference. I think
it
we
does
were half
now.
joking
the
before
Zamazenta to
about
be
the
doing
option
a
of
lot
big
less.
fake
That's
out
why he
going for the
switched things
knockout.
around,
I think
and
that
it
the
but it just
Whimsicott
didn't
is
work. It didn't
safe,
really
you know.
work out the way he thought.
Perhaps the world's biggest critical hit fake out could actually be game changing here.
I'm
But
thinking,
Whimsicott,
yeah,
with that
Tailwind
overflow,
and
flinched to
fake
a
out.
and should be able to survive it with this
Or
amount of
U-turn?
HP. And yeah, I think one more tailwind,
Really?
potentially puts Luka in a
Interesting.
pretty good spot. So it's been a long and grinding
don't
game.
remember
That
how
first tailwind
much-
didn't get a whole lot done other
Yeah, so
than
this is what
removing
Sick Brain
the
does, yeah.
Zamazenta and forcing
I don't
precise
remember how much
constellations, but
the
perhaps that second tailwind is
Astral
really going to be the one
Barrage
that
will do
gets
to.
the speed closed
Oh,
out.
it's
And
faster.
that is sometimes what's important about these games. If you can preserve your Whimsicott to get the second tailwind up, that's when you can finally start.
Oh!
Marco to go for the nasty block instead of going on the offensive. That means Whimsicott is stuck on the field, and Luka's going to have to waste time
Yikes.
repositioning.
Oh, and it's a
Marco
dark
had a
type, so
huge
he
boost
can't.
right there.
That's a
He
non-conventional use
cannot
of the Dark Terror type as
encore.
well, but
Yeah.
Whimsicott, much like the Incineroar, unable to use an encore onto this
Yeah.
now Dark type Calyrex.
That's amazing.
and
That's very
and
well.
it's a great move
Like,
too, right,
it's in
where,
a position it could
knockout is certainly
probably
to Luka's
go.
advantage. Now, if his tailwind turns being wasted,
Oh,
you
light
try
screen
to
is
go
a
for hard
great
switch
play.
here. You go for a light screen, maybe you
In
go for a
front of the
super effective
Calyrex,
Moon
light
Blast,
screen in
which
front of the
would be,
Calyrex, that's crazy.
powerful, but maybe not super impactful. On Marco's side, you could now just go for a protect on the Calyrex if you think that Luka's going to be afraid of switching.
I think he's
one of
thinking
his
about it.
restricted Pokemon in. You'd love to get your own Rillaboom back out because
No, I think he's
there's
either
a small
Encore
window
or
here
Light
where Miracle
Screen,
will be
yeah.
able to, take control of the
You
train
turn
again,
into the
but,
Rillaboom.
Marco
Or
did a really nice job
Calyrex?
slow-playing
I
this
don't
one.
know. I
Kind
think
of
it
just,
went into the
you don't
Calyrex, yeah.
necessarily get ahead by taking knockout. Really
This
masterful
way,
play
the
there by not
Incineroar
getting greedy.
definitely
Well,
lives.
and a really safe play there to go for the light screen to set that up to negate
Astral
a little bit of
Barrage.
the damage of this now boosted Astral Barrage. That's a double
Oh!
KO onto
Oh,
the
man, that's a
Whimsicott and
+4
onto the
Calyrex.
Incineroar. That
Yikes.
means that it's going to be Lunala and Miraidon coming in under Trick Room and under the light screen, while the Calyrex is now at +4.
So you said Tailwind, but
Tailwind,
but I
yes.
think you're thinking the right place because we're in sort of.
I was
going
gonna
to
say Trick Room, yeah, no,
I think if there
Tailwind.
was no Trick Room on the Lunala, the end game to me is pretty simple. On Marco's side, you switch the Rillaboom out, you protect the Calyrex. The next turn and just start launching Astral Barrages. The counter to that is trying to find the right time to get a Trick Room, perhaps. On Luka's side.
Yeah,
Really take
man,
advantage
that
finally
sucks.
Of, that to get your Lunala slower than the opposing Calyrex. However,
Dazzling
we saw what
probably,
happened
right?
previously, where then it just caused the Rillaboom to win the game. So
Right.
we'll have to see if Luka can finish
Light
this one off.
screen,
This time, now
electric
at a Pokemon
terrain.
disadvantage,
Yeah, the
speed
Rillaboom's
control
definitely
advantage
switching.
against a Calyrex with
So
4 levels of
probably
increased special attack.
Dazzling Gleam
Wow,
and
that is
Moonblast into the
so
Calyrex,
scary,
right?
And the light screen will be doing something, but it may not be able to do enough here. Is really threatening though to have Tailwind and the electric terrain up.
With
The other thing to
the
keep in mind here is that there is
I
still
don't
a wide
remember
guard
if
threat from
Calyrex
Lunala.
has
So not quite so
Protect.
simple as
That
just
could
hitting
be
the
a
buttons. There will be some
crazy
training necessary
Protect.
here, but definitely some mind games.
Nope,
Calyrex
no,
is
just
gonna
a
give
straight
up
up
the boost,
switch.
though.
Yeah.
I love that.
Wow.
In the sense that likely not what Luka's expecting, but
That's a crazy
big,
play from
big
Marco.
Yeah, it takes a really strong and confident trainer to give up your +4 Calyrex and just switch it out. This Electro Drift will connect onto the
Definitely
Rillaboom, deals
anticipating the
good damage
Rillaboom
thanks to
switching.
the
That's
electric terrain
crazy.
still being active, and here comes the Terra
Moonblast.
boosted
No,
Moonblast
that-
from Lunala. Connects onto the Incineroar on the switch in.
He misses
Almost picks
it.
up the KO, but
Darn.
not quite enough, and Rillaboom is able to
Yeah.
switch out with the U-turn,
Jeez.
bringing Calyrex back out
Oh
on the
man.
So it's a little
Marco
painful,
is
but this
doing-
will give
that was a
Marco
great
path
play
toward
by
getting the
Marco.
train control
That was
back.
a
It's little
great,
bit more
great
dangerous
play.
than perhaps that he would
I
have
think
hoped,
Luka
where,
was
you'd love to go for a
anticipating
fake out here, but if you do, it's like a fake out switch is a
Rillaboom
pretty tough,
switching out
play to
and
make
not
here. We're going to
U-turning,
wind up taking a bunch of
and
damage, so it'll be exciting
the
to see what Marco
Calyrex
goes for,
staying
but
in and maybe
does
even
get the
going for
Rillaboom out.
another
Only 2 Pokemon remaining, so the option for train control, we'll have to see what he'll have to pay to
for
get it.
Exactly. Will it be the
man.
Incineroar? Will it be the
Dazzling
Calyrex?
Gleam?
What
No,
will it
'cause you have to
be
worry
that
about
Marco
the
has to give up to regain
stupid-
control of the terrain. Will it
stupid
just
fake
be
out.
momentum? Just switch one of these Pokemon out into Rillaboom and give up one of your turns here in these final turns of this deciding Game 3.
I think obviously the Calyrex is the great prize if you can get it here. Would remove all of the speed control related complications, but this is just such a tense turn. Rillaboom could feasibly come to the slot.
Oh!
Likely play here. I would
Just
say,
reading
not wanting to
Luka
risk
like
such
a
powerful Pokemon.
book.
The Drain gonna swap. Their damage from Miraidon going to be decreased.
Yeah.
And get a little bit more
Yeah.
healing perhaps in what has been a very defensively oriented set.
Yeah, but the healing goes both ways.
Yeah,
The Lunala and
jeez.
Miraidon will also be gaining health back from the grassy terrain. There's the Electro Drift into Rillaboom.
Oh
Some
man,
good damage. I
is
think
Luca
Rillaboom
gonna
might be
lose
able
this?
to
No
survive
freaking
one more
way.
Electro Drift after this
Oh
grassy terrain
my
recovery
gosh,
goes
Rillaboom
off,
and
though.
Incineroar
And
together are
once
just
more, threatens
insane.
fake out pressure onto both of these Pokemon. Could
Like,
allow that Calyrex
Marco
to get
is
back
using
in
this
as Tailwind
beautifully.
peters
He
out
is
here.
And really going to do a little bit more
absolutely
damage here,
crushing
where,
this.
especially with the light screen still up. Just the Calyrex not in a position where, even if we're to come in safely with Trick Room expired, where I think you could reasonably expect it to clean the game up. Even a tiny bit of damage could make a big difference. Miraidon not the most defensively sturdy Pokemon in the game, but Lunala kind of is, especially with the light screen there.
Yeah, and this is a really awkward moment to have the Incineroar and the Rillaboom out. You are able to threaten, to prevent Trick Room with Fake Out here. Ooh, but actually just
Oh!
the Incineroar onto
No,
the
he's
Rillaboom.
gonna-
That's going to be a health
Oh.
big damage. That would
What?
have Whimsicott, I tell you what. As the Electro Drift connects onto Incineroar, and that may
That's
be
a play you
exactly
don't
what
see very
Marco
often.
wants
That's
and
fun.
needs a free switch in to the Calyrex in the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen a helping hand fake out before, but extremely correct play though, right? Needed to fake out the Lunala in order to give the Rillaboom one more action the next turn.
Yeah.
Incineroar had no path toward acting normally anyway, so why not take a little bit more damage that fake out, potentially putting it in knockout range.
All right, you
for
guys
the,
keep watching. I gotta
Astral
step away to
Barrage
take a
on the
phone
next
call.
turn, and allowing Rillaboom to attack once more, likely with the Grassy Glide to further weaken one of these Pokemon and try to open the door for Calyrex to steal the game away from our world champion at the final turn.
All right, it all comes down to this last moment here. If Calyrex is able to pick up these KOs with Astral Barrage, I believe we still have a turn of Light Screen left, or it may be just faded. I may have missed that reading there, but if we have Light Screen up, you're tempted to block and stall just a little bit here.
Yeah, and don't forget there's still the threat of Wide Guard, right? You can't just safely click an Astro Block. Maybe you make the read like, oh, he knows that I won't, so I will. But yeah, I mean, also big single target option, right? You can't really ignore either of these Pokemon. We've seen the damage Rillaboom can do. Lunala is certainly in range of a Wood Hammer and perhaps even a couple of Grassy Glides. So important for both sides to get the read right. This could all come down to this turn.
Here's the Wide Guard from Lunala, protecting both the Miraidon and Lunala from the Astral Barrage. Grassy Glide from Rillaboom connects onto Lunala, not enough to pick up the KO, and the Astral Barrage hits into the Wide Guard, which means Luca is able to fire off another huge Electro Drift from this Miraidon. Of course, it does not have the electric terrain, which means it does not have all of the huge boosts attached to it. Connects onto the Calyrex, and not enough! Calyrex Shadow Rider once more with single-digit health, hanging on for dear life and hanging on for the undefeated record for Marco Silva heading into our 7th round of Swiss.
What a fascinating situation. The light screen will expire, and we wind up in a strange situation here where a Grassy Glide from Rillaboom at this turn would knock out the Lunala. However, only 2 turns left of the Grassy terrain, which may be just enough. And the Calyrex, we've seen a number of items of this Pokemon often focus session. This one is a Life Orb. It's right at the point where Recoil could potentially knock it out. It's going to protect because of that. See if it can have its friend Rillaboom pick up a knockout first.
Yeah, protect here, get the recovery on the grassy terrain. Lunala with another Wide Guard just to make sure that there are no sneaky Astral Barrages, as Grassy Glide will pick up that KO onto Lunala. This will likely end up in a situation with Calyrex Shadow Rider staring down a solo Miraidon as this Electro Drift will connect onto the Rillaboom here. Actually, Rillaboom hangs on all of those turns of grassy terrain, adding up, and Marco is going to get
Crap, I walked away.
to deal the damage that he needs to win
Oh,
this game.
wait.
Yeah, well, this could be really
Oh,
exciting.
Miraidon's at...
Rillaboom
Oh,
would back up.
no. What did I... Okay, I missed something. What did I miss? Ah! Okay. And the helping hand fake out with the Calyrex. Okay.
It all comes down to this last moment here.
Sorry
If
for making you guys
Calyrex is
rewatch
able to
this, but
pick up
I
these
want to see what
KOs
happens.
with
That was pretty
Astral
crazy.
Barrage,
It's a good thing this is
I believe we
YouTube and
still
not
have a turn of Light Screen left, or it
freaking
may be
Twitch.
just faded. I may have missed that reading there, but if we have Light Screen up, you're tempted to block and stall just a little bit here.
Yeah, and don't forget there's still the threat of Wide Guard, right? You can't just safely click an Astro Block. Maybe you make the read like, oh, he knows that I won't, so I will. But yeah, I mean, Also, big
Oh,
single
he
target.
does
Can't
go
really
for
ignore
wide
this
guard.
Pokemon. We've seen the damage Rillaboom can do.
No, he doesn't.
Lunala is certainly in range of a Woodhammer and perhaps even a couple of
Or
Grassy
does he?
Glides. So I'm
Does
for
he?
both sides to get
He
the read right. This could all
does.
come down to this turn.
Here's the wide guard
That's
from
a great
Lunala,
wide guard.
protecting both the Miraidon and Lunala from the Astral Barrage. Grassy Glide from Rillaboom connects onto
Ooh,
Lunala.
not
Not enough to pick up the
enough.
KO, and the Astral
And it
Barrage
does
gets
catch
into
it.
the wide guard, which means Luca is able to fire off another huge Electro Drift from this Miraidon. Of course, it does not have the electric terrain, which means it does not have all of the huge boosts attached to it. Connects onto the Calyrex. Shadow
Oh,
Rider
wow.
once more with single-digit health, hanging on for dear life and hanging on for the undefeated record for Marco Silva heading into our 7th round of Swiss.
What a fascinating situation. The light screen will expire, and we wind up in a strange situation here. Where a Grassy Glide from Rillaboom at this turn would knock out the Lunala. However, only 2 turns left of the Grassy Terrain, which may be just enough. And the Calyrex, we've seen a number of items of this Pokemon often focus.
I don't know why they were saying about that, about round 7, because Calyrex going into protect, using another wide guard.
Yeah, protect here, get the recovery on the grassy
Oh,
terrain.
I see.
Lunala
Wide
with
guard and
another
use
wide
Electro
guard
Drift into
just
the
to make
Calyrex.
sure, just to make sure
Darn.
that there are no sneaky Astral
Yeah.
Barrages, as Grassy Glide will pick up a KO onto Lunala. This will likely end us in a situation with Calyrex Shadow Rider staring down a solo Miraidon as this Electro Drift.
Oh,
Rillaboom here.
no!
Those turns of grassy terrain adding
He
up.
called the protect,
Marco
but
is
it
going to
wasn't
get
enough.
2 shots at this Miraidon
No.
if he needs to win this game.
Yeah, well, this could be really exciting if the Rillaboom
Oh,
knocked out
no.
there. Look, let's say for now, Calyrex will survive now its own life orb, so it's going to need to be targeted, as will this Rillaboom. Now gets to
Single
use its
target
full combo
Astral
Rod
Barrage.
with no wide guard available.
That's big damage.
Oh.
That's 10 hit points, and that's not enough to survive the follow-up from Rillaboom. As the
No.
Electro Drift from
That's
Miraidon
GG.
connects down
Oh,
onto
man.
the Calyrex, picks up that final little bit
Luca.
of HP as Marco
Oh.
Silva knocks out
That's
the world
rough.
champions Miraidon
Marco
here,
definitely has
advances
to be
at
feeling
6
great.
and 0 here in our Swiss round.
Oh, man.
That's
Woodhammer. Yeah,
I
I am right.
paperwork.
Oh,
sake,
jeez.
It was kind of all determined that previous couple of turns. What an amazing match between 2 of the very best players in the world.
From
And
2
that's
different
exactly
teams, yeah.
why they're 2 of the very best players. That's why when we saw that matchup on the pairings, there was no question. And this is what's so great about the Italian community. You can see both of them talking about this match, going back and forth, working together, and, you know, just 2 brilliant Pokemon.
Okay, I just gotta throw this
Yeah, I
out
think
there.
it's a really
What
master flip
is
upset as well.
going on
Also,
with his
interesting
shoes? Those are the
adjustments at both sides.
ugliest.
Like a really
The guy
fantastic
on the right,
third
Marco.
game, just
Yeah.
felt
Marco
like such a
Silva. Those are the
wonderful
ugliest
that
shoes
set
I've
the end.
ever
Some great
seen.
positioning
Jeez
back and
Louise.
forth, kind of seeing both sides make some reads, both sides lose some ground, and then really kiss
All right,
people
guys.
making the
I'm
right
gonna let the
decisions,
stream.
and
I'm gonna
both
let
sides working
the
forward.
intermission
Really
in
cool and
between
getting
games
wow,
play. You guys
it's
go ahead and
really
enjoy it.
cool
I'm
that
gonna make
it's,
myself
played at this
a
level.
little bit of lunch,
Absolutely,
and then
this
I'll
was
come
such a
back
fun set.
when I'm all done.
Coming in a little bit late on the replay here, Luca had gotten quite a bit of damage onto that Zamazenta, just the chip adding up over time. This double KO setting up the end game that we had there with Luca's Miraidon and Lunala, trying to face down the 3 remaining Pokemon that Marco had and making it so close. Having both fake out users and the ability to take control of terrain immediately felt like it was going to be really hard for Luca to come back there, but Luca played out of his mind to get into a good position, but Marco just a little bit ahead, and that's what's so fascinating about these deeply positional teams, especially on Marco's side. It's all about getting the timings right exactly down to the turn.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. You know, Pokemon at its most chess, right? Where we see a lot of matches where it seems like they're over very quickly because we see big knockouts. This was completely different, right? Both sides playing conservatively, not giving up anything for free, just trying to maneuver in situations where they had checkmate, right? And I just love that, right? To me, this is what high-level play looks like, where you're not risking the game needlessly early in the game.
Yeah.
You're playing until you have to make those risks. And we saw some fun reads earlier in this set where a couple times where Marco really could have gotten punished. I think especially that first game, and I think that was really well played to know when he could take the risks. But even the Terastallizations, right? And they came out like they weren't like immediately massive value the way we see sometimes, but they were correct, methodical plays to get them in great positions to avoid losing the game and to keep working toward a win condition. I think that's the other thing we see sometimes in matchups like this one with these sorts of teams where it just seems like the players are successfully keeping their Pokemon alive, but they're not like really working toward anything. It's a very clear path in this one. What a great match.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you see people switching out that like very low HP Whimsicott, and you're like, what are you doing? You don't need that Pokemon anymore. But Luca got so much value out of it later, but then Marco just had the positioning right away. I can't wait to hear even more about this match directly from our winner, Marco Silva. Let's take it down to the stage where Lou is standing by to talk with him. Take it away, Lou.
Thank you very much, casters. I have the absolute honor of being joined on the stage by the winner of that last Swiss round, Marco Silva. Huge congratulations locking in your day 2 here at NAIC. How does that feel?
It feels really great because in the last tournament I wasn't able to perform really well. I ended up going 5-3, so it's great that I'm able to finally get the issue again.
Well, the crowd was definitely loving seeing you up here on the stage. And talking about your last event, the Bologna Regional Championships, you've really changed up your team since then. Can you talk us through why you shook it up so much?
Yes, in this case, since it's a bigger tournament, I prefer to go in for a more standard core that was also really similar to previous team that I used in the past. In fact, like the team that the exact six Pokemon that I have here are the same as the 6 that I played last year. But of course, I changed like Urshifu to Zamazenta, which is like fighting type for another fighting type, and also the same 6 that I play at Worlds. So I had a lot of confidence with that.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of international experience with those particular 6 Pokemon. I'm kind of sad to not see Terapagos though. Do you think you'll ever use it again in the future?
I kind of like told to myself that like I don't know, like when I play Terapagos, like it feels great, like it feels like it's a really good Pokemon. Like the fact they can like hit so many stuff like without caring about the typing is really good. But I don't know, like every time I play something goes wrong, like matchup wise. So I just felt like Terapagos just doesn't have like enough aura for me to win. So I decided to drop it altogether.
Well, it seems to be working out for you with the current core that you were running. Let's talk about that last match. You were obviously going up against Luca Cerabelli, our reigning world champion, and obviously another member of Team Italy. Talk us through how your kind of tournaments against Luca have gone before. Have you got much of a history playing against him?
Yes, me and Luca started playing basically around the same time. In fact, like at the first major event that we both played, we ended up facing in the finals. And in that case, he won. And yeah, like he has been like my rival forever, like since I've been basically starting playing. So yeah, it's great to, of course, play against him in a bigger stage like this one.
Well, it's good to see that rivalry, but also the team spirit amongst the two of you. It was great to see the way you ended out that match. Let's talk a little bit about the plays. Game 1 and Game 2, Trick Room played quite a strong role, but one game it worked for Luca, one game it worked for you. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I feel like this matchup is really tricky. Like there are a lot of turns that can possibly go both ways. In fact, like you also kind of have to guess like which Pokemon, like at least like in my case, I always brought like the same 4 Pokemon in the same order. But like I also had to guess, like for example in the first game, of course, I went for Body Press and U-turn because I was expecting him to switch in the Whimsicott. But he called me like he just doubled he called my turn like and he just doubled the Zamazenta. And then in game 3 when I went for Fake Out and Body Press, he actually switched in the Whimsicott. So yeah, Luca made some great plays. And the matchup is pretty tricky, like, but yeah, of course it was a good match because we both played really well.
Yeah, definitely an expert match for a lot of our viewers at home to be able to watch. That Game 3 definitely was very methodical. It almost went to time. There were only 2 minutes left on the clock. And that endgame situation, it looked like you were really trying to get the grassy terrain control at the end. Talk us through your thoughts in those last couple of turns.
So in the last couple of turns, I figured out like at some point he still had Tailwind, he still had the screens. I tried to figure out a way to like not give him like a pre-switch straight away. In fact, when I was in front of like Incineroar and Whimsicott, I decided to not go for Fake Out and Astro Barrage because I figured out that if I was able to position like Lunala and Miraidon under Tailwind with too many turns, I was not able to like break it, even with like the double Fake Out. So I decided to get another turn with Nasty Plot and then get a KO into both. And then from there, like it kind of worked out fine for me because I was able to like with Fake Out and by the fact, of course, like Miraidon cannot switch moves, I was able to kind of put it in a way in which the end game was going like in my way.
Well, it was incredible to be able to see you take that set, and I always love a Game 3 as well. It gives us more Pokemon action. You know exactly what it takes to become an international champion, considering you have won 3 of them in the past, but you haven't won NAIC. What would it mean for you to take the title here this weekend?
Yeah, it would really mean a lot, of course, like especially after not performing so well. I mean, like I still performed kind of well, like up there winning the last internet, but I still, of course, want to win more and try to play the best as I can.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people rooting for you. I know a lot of Team Italy and Team Europe as well are rooting behind you to take this title. We'll let you go get ready for your next round. But before we go, any shout outs to the people supporting you?
So I want to shout out, of course, my team, Novo. And then also, of course, like all my friends, like Luca, Fede, and all the people, like especially Stefano Grippi. It's an Italian guy that was able to make top 8 at the Bologna special event. I basically, like, even if this is basically like the team that I played awards, I took like the team that he used, like we share like a little bit of game plans and stuff like that. And he really helped me a lot prep for this tournament. So I really want to give a huge shout out to him.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words and your time and your incredible Pokemon plays. It's always a joy to watch you compete. Pokemon trainers, the action is going to keep going here. We've still got 2 Swiss rounds to go. We're going to kick it to a short break, but don't go anywhere.
I would say a great trainer is someone who's like willing to work with other people and willing to like let other people help them be better, and also just someone who's nice to everyone, because I think it's really hard to be good at Pokemon if you're not willing to talk to other people and help them out.
I would say being able to be humble in your defeat. You can't win them all, and how you handle your interactions with your opponent even during the match and after are very, very important.
I think what makes a great trainer is someone who's passionate about it and motivated enough to learn. You gotta enjoy learning move sets, learning matchups, learning move counts and whatnot. And then the more you play and the more you do, the better you'll be.
I think a good trainer is someone who is kind and open-minded and willing to share their experience with newer trainers so that the game can be more inclusive for others.
I think what makes a great trainer is a combination of a lot of different qualities. I think it's about being honest with yourself when you maybe make mistakes, right? When you get unlucky, looking for parts of the game that are within your control. And also you just have to have this like certain eye for the game, right? Like you can look at a board state and you can kind of analyze a lot of possibilities. I think what really it takes is like kind of looking at a bunch of different successful approaches, finding what works for you, but synthesizing the things that are really good to carry over into your own prep and your own skill as a player.
Welcome, trainers, to a world where things aren't always as they seem. Fast Pokemon suddenly fall behind, and slow Pokemon pick up the pace. Welcome to the Twisted Dimension, created by a competitive move in the Pokemon video game, Trick Room. By flipping the traditional speed order on its head, Trick Room is one of the most unique mechanics in the game. For 5 turns, the statistically slowest Pokemon on the field move first, and the fastest move last. With only a short time to utilize its effects, let's quickly break it down further before the dimensions return to normal. Trick Room is a Psychic-type status move, which affects all the players on the field. Although it can reverse traditional speed-based turn order, it does not affect the speed of priority moves such as Sucker Punch or Fake Out, giving opportunity for opponents to work around this fancy maneuver. Trick Room is often used on bulky support Pokemon like Cresselia, Dusclops, or Calyrex Ice Rider, who can reliably endure a turn of damage and still set up the strategy. Trick Room also synergizes well with redirection moves like Follow Me or Rage Powder to give the Trick Room user some protective coverage. Once it's active, slow but powerful attackers like Torkoal, Iron Hands, or Calyrex Ice Rider take control of the match. Because they're naturally low in speed, they become the new fast Pokemon under Trick Room conditions, and can take center stage to show their Pokemon prowess. If Trick Room isn't for you personally, but you find yourself facing down against a Trick Room team, then there's a few ways you can try and counter this strategy. Firstly, you can try and deny Trick Room from going up at all through the use of a few moves. Taunt shuts down status moves, meaning a taunted Pokemon cannot use the move Trick Room. This is particularly effective as Trick Room will always go last in the turn order due to its low priority, meaning you can connect Taunt before the Trick Room user is able to get to its attack. The same strategy applies to Roar, as you can use this move to send the Trick Room user running right back into its Pokeball before it can set up the speed-altering effect. However, if you can't stop your opponent from setting up Trick Room, then there's still the option of reversing it with your own Trick Room, or finding a way to play defensively through the 5 Trick Room turns and stall them out. In the right hands though, Trick Room really can be devastating. It rewards preparation, prediction, and team synergy, and gives underused slow Pokemon a real moment to shine. Well, trainers, it looks like our Trick Room turns are up and the dimensions have returned to normal. Try this strategy out for yourself in your next battle and see what happens. Best of luck!
I am here with Meowth, and we're playing a little Pokemon This or That Water Pokemon Edition. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Araquanid or Pelipper?
Pelipper.
Pelipper or Quillfish?
Quillfish.
Quillfish or Kingdra?
Quillfish.
Quillfish or Floatzel?
Quillfish.
Quillfish or Wugtrio?
Quillfish.
Quillfish is crushing it, or Poplio?
Ooh, he's so cute. Quillfish.
Quillfish or Sobble?
Quillfish.
Quillfish or Gyarados?
Quillfish.
Quillfish is destroying this right now. Quillfish or Greninja?
Quillfish.
Quillfish or Squirtle?
Quillfish.
Quillfish or Psyduck?
Quillfish.
Quillfish for the win. Throw me a plush. Oh! Bidoof, congratulations. Huge winner.
Shout out to Monroe. Good luck, you guys.
Bye.
Hey Pokemon trainers, welcome to Pokemon Championships History, a series where we showcase important moments throughout the history of competitive Pokemon. I'm Jake Muller, and I'd love to take you back to the World Championships in 2015, the year Mega Kangaskhan claimed her biggest victory. But first, we need to go back one more year to 2014. Pokemon X and Pokemon Y introduced Mega Evolutions to competitive Pokemon, and Mega Kangaskhan dominated the metagame throughout the entire season. However, when the 2014 World Championships rolled around, Mega Kangaskhan fell to the wayside, failing to make a single appearance in top 8. Although Mega Kangaskhan surged back into the metagame as we moved into the 2015 season, its place at the top became crowded thanks to the introduction of even more Mega Evolutions from Pokemon Omega Ruby and Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. As the World Championships loomed, the community wondered whether Mega Kangaskhan would once again be pushed out of the metagame by a high presence of Pokemon that could counter it. Anticipating this, many players from Europe and North America opted not to include Mega Kangaskhan on their teams, fearing history would repeat itself. Japan, however, had something else in mind. Just 2 months prior at the Japan National Championships, Shoma Honami claimed first place with an early version of a team structure that would come to be known as Chalk, which featured Cresselia, Heatran, Amoonguss, Landorus Therian, and Mega Kangaskhan. This team composition boasted an unmatched combination of power and flexibility, leading Shoma and many other Japanese players to ride the Mega Kangaskhan wave all the way to Boston. As the 2015 World Championships progressed, it became clear that Chalk was the team to beat, even though the competition was full of teams with outside Mega Evolution picks, like Mega Mawile,
does connect with the Garchomp and does pick up the knockout.
Mega Charizard X,
we go for the Flare Blitz here on the Thunderous,
Mega Salamence,
the Hyper Voice,
and Mega Charizard Y.
We go for the Flamethrower here.
6 of the top 8 players used teams that followed the Chalk guidelines, including Shoma Honami himself. While the extraordinary success of this team composition at the biggest event of the season was astounding, even more interesting was the variation seen within Chalk just inside this top 8. While all 6 teams had both Mega Kangaskhan and Landorus Therian, many players opted for some alternate options for the remaining Pokemon. Heatran was substituted for a different Fire-type Pokemon on 2 occasions, with one player using Entei and one choosing Volcarona. The 6th Pokemon on the team ranged from Thundurus to Aegislash to Tyranitar to Scrafty. Sylveon made an appearance in place of Cresselia in one instance, and one player even gave up Amoonguss to run both Aegislash and Thundurus. The 2 teams in top 8 at the World Championships that did not make use of Mega Kangaskhan were both defeated in the quarterfinals, meaning that Mega Kangaskhan was guaranteed to have her day in the sun.
Players shake hands, knowing that the game is over. Rotom Wash falls, and the crowd reacts, ladies and gentlemen. Yosuke advancing. We've seen him. This is the 2nd time on stream, playing incredibly well.
After taking down Naoto Mizobushi in top 4, Shoma Honami would be met in the finals by fellow Japanese player Hideyuki Taida, whose Volcarona set him apart from the rest of the field.
Oh my god. He's done. We get a medic in the field.
The championship match was a back-and-forth affair. Shoma won Game 1 thanks to consistent damage output from his Landorus Therian and clever use of disruptive attacks like Thunderwave and Swagger.
And here we go. Will it be able to hit through Confusion is the question. No, it hits itself. Huge. Shoma very excited.
But Hideyuki turned the tides and even the score at 1 game all after his Pokemon broke through Confusion on crucial turns.
A lot on the line for these two trainers. Almost $20,000 in prizing here as it hits through with a big Shadow Sneak, and I think that will pick up the feint here on the Thundurus. It is definitely at this point looking like Hideyuki's taking it to a Game 3.
In the deciding game, Shoma made expert use of Heatran's defensive utility and offensive power, proving that the original Chalk Fire-type Pokemon was still #1.
Do a ton here. Oh my gosh, picking up the feint on Hideyuki's Pokemon as well as catching the burn, activating the weakness policy there, but the burn is absolutely huge and it's only a matter of protects before this one is over.
Fittingly, Mega Kangaskhan re-entered the field right before Hideyuki conceded defeat. Shoma's decision to stay true to his run to the Japan Nationals title with the original components of the Chalk team composition paid off as he became the 2015 Pokemon World Champion.
Shoma Honami is your 2015 Pokemon Video Game World Champion.
Thank you for watching, and let us know some of your favorite moments in VGC history by using the hashtag #PlayPokemon.
The day is getting into the latter rounds here in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it's only going to get more dramatic, more intense as more trainers are going to decide their fates if they will be headed to Anaheim, California this summer or not for the World Championships. We have a quick hit update as we're heading into our round 7. There are only 2 rounds remaining here on day 1 of NAIC. Remember, it is the top 75 trainers in North America, and then you include the automatic wins or invitations from regional champions, top 4s of international events as well. For example, Ashton Cox outside of the top 75, but has his top 4 from LAIC earlier this season. Wolf Glick inside the top 75, but obviously has 2 auto qualifications, winning a regional and an IC this year. So it's going to be roughly around 83, 84, 85. It looks like potential North American trainers heading to Anaheim. Have some updates from the community, everyone putting their work together to figure out live tracking going on, what we need to see in these final 2 rounds for these last couple of world slots. I think some trainers have potentially locked up their World's invitation. Our reigning NAIC champion, Patrick Connor, with that win earlier today, that 5th win, just needs a top 5-12, essentially a top half of the trainers in the field, and with that, seems like Patrick has qualified for the World Championships. Congratulations to Patrick. Some of the other players in contention right now that are in that, say, 60th to 80th or 90th range of points, Nick Navarre, Connor Swihart, and Dylan Kleinvin are currently 5-1. They're roughly at the edge, that bubble that we like to call it, near World's qualification. Brady Smith came in today, I believe, 84th in rankings, and is currently was 3-2 as of last round. So Brady needs to win out to qualify for day 2 to potentially get that World's invitation. A couple people need top 256 instead of top 512, which is going to be a little bit harder to achieve with how great the player base is here in NAIC. There's a couple of trainers like Dominic Vogel, Emily Parson, they need 1 more victory. Cedric Bernier needs 1 more victory, former multi-time regional champion. Diego Aguirre, Andrew Figueras also need an extra victory. Some trainers are most likely out of contention, like Sung Lee and Joey Woodring. Joey getting a 2nd place regional finish earlier this season, currently 3-3, so very likely out of the World Championship contention. There could be other players that were secure going into today that have also fallen out. So you got to stay tuned, got to see what's going on in our last 2 rounds of Swiss right here on day 1 of NAIC, because it's only going to get even more dramatic as we start to finish our day here. So we're going to head over to the casters to get round 7 started. Team, take it away.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that update on the floor about how the World's Championship point race is going for North America. My name is Rosemary Kelly, and I'm so excited to be back once again with Jake Muller to take you through our next round of Swiss. And we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the day. You heard it from Joe. Some of these players, they only need 1 more win or 2 more wins to make it into day 2 of the competition and also to secure their World's invite.
It's a really exciting time for a lot of these players. Again, this is all preliminary. We don't have the final standings just yet, and we won't know until NAIC is fully complete. But given the standings and the leaderboards the way that they are, I think a lot of players know that they become pretty safe to make it into that top 75 once they know they're getting at least top 512 worth of points here in New Orleans. And so really cool to see a lot of trainers getting that much closer to an invitation to the World Championships. Of course, some trainers have already locked their place in day 2 here in New Orleans as well. Going into round 7, we have a number of trainers at 6-0, which is always a nice way to start your day.
Very nice way indeed. But we also have so much more action ahead when we still have those 2 more rounds of Swiss and of course the rest of our weekend. And hopefully if you're tuning in from home, you've been very excited about our giveaways and our goodies that we've got for you for tuning into our stream. First and foremost, you can get Wolf Glicks 2025 Europe International Championship winning Incineroar by using the code NAIC25 ConParish. If you know, you know why that is so funny. And it's just a great Pokemon to have given the usage that it's had as well.
I mean, you've seen it up at number 1 in our usage stats at so many tournaments. Great way to kind of build up your available Pokemon to start building some teams if you want to jump into the action next season.
We also have some in-game rewards for you if you play Pokemon Unite. You can use the gift code NAIC2025, and you can also get a drop for watching the Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Pokemon Unite. Make sure you get all of your in-game exciting goodies and then, you know, stunt on people when you style on them with, like, I think they've got, well, what did I see over there that I was excited about? They've got Miraidon over there. If you like Miraidon, then you can play Miraidon in Unite. That's so cool.
That is really fun. You know, it's really cool to get to include Unite in our NAIC festivities. They always have one of the most exciting crowds in the room. You know when something cool has happened in Unite because the crowd goes insane and it's a really fun environment.
I can already hear them from here.
Oh yeah.
They've been going absolutely wild for those teams, and we love to hear that support for our players. But don't worry, if you're a Pokemon TCG fan, we've got things for you as well in Pokemon TCG Live. You can use the code NAIC25 Destined Rivals to get some of these beautiful illustration rares for Team Rocket's Giovanni, Ethan's Adventure, and make sure you just check out what's going on in game because there's so much action happening there also on the TCG stage.
2 very good cards as well. Those are both 2 new supporter cards from the Destined Rivals set that released a couple weeks ago, and trying to build up some of your, you know, Pokemon cards in the Trading Card Game Live app. A really good place to start here.
We also have Twitch drops. So if you're watching the stream, you can also get rewards for tuning in for a certain amount of time to the Pokemon TCG stream, and you can get Ogerpon Cornerstone in-game cosmetics. You've got a coin, you've got sleeves, you've got the deck box. My personal favorite Ogerpon form. What about you?
Ooh, I think I gotta give it to Wellspring, but Cornerstone is also a cutie.
We can't be partners anymore.
I'm gonna hold
this.
They're all wonderful and lovely.